Our opening congregational song is By the Rivers of Babylon in the new book under B. Please rise and body your spirit as you are willing and able. Welcome to the First Existentialist Congregation of Atlanta. We are a spiritual community philosophically based on existentialist and feminist principles, dedicated to human liberation and protection of the natural world. We make our spiritual home in the Old Stone Church, which was hand-built more than 100 years ago by the African-American Antioch East Baptist Church. And we acknowledge that racial hostility drove those African Americans from the area, and we honor them and the powerful history of this place. We also acknowledge that in the 1800s, the Muscogee Creek people were driven from this land, and we support justice for all Indigenous people. My name is Cindy Lou Hu. I'll be your facilitator this morning. Every man lives in two realms, the internal and the external. The internal is that realm of spiritual ends expressed in art, literature, morals, and religion. The external is that complex of devices, techniques, mechanisms, and instrumentalities by means of which we live. Martin Luther King, Jr. If anyone has any community announcement this morning, there should be paper on the back table, and please write them down and bring them up to me. I'll be announcing them later. Is there anyone here who's here for the first time, or maybe hasn't been around in a while and would like to stand and introduce themselves and say how they came to be here this morning? Devin.
Hi y'all, I'm Devin. I used to come a lot, like maybe between 2016 and 18, 19, and I really miss this place. It looks beautiful, and I'm so happy to see the ones of you I know, and the ones I don't. What up?
We're glad to have you back.
Good morning, my name is Paul. This is my second time here. The first time I was here was a couple of years ago, and a dear friend and long-term member of the congregation passed away, Bob Stewart. And so I just been anxious to visit and visiting today. Thank you.
Welcome, Paul.
Hi, my name is Aaron. I just actually recently joined the Unitarian Church in Des Moines, Iowa, where I live. I am here in town for the day for my grandmother's funeral, and I wanted to attend the service.
Welcome, Darren. If you'd like to stay connected with us on our programs, we have a little connection card that you can tear off, and when we do the offering, you can put in the plate. We send emails and little updates about what's going on in our community. Does anyone have a birthday or an anniversary that they would like to celebrate this morning? Carol, come on down. Birthday?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, let's sing happy birthday to Carol.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Carol. Happy birthday to you. The first time that the congregation sang happy birthday to me was my 40th birthday.
Oh, wow.
This is my 85th. So wow.
birthdays or anniversaries? Well, let's sing another congregational song. Please stand as you're willing and able. Joe Hill, page 40 in the pink book.
I still haven't seen the Bob Dylan movie, but Joe Baez has been getting quite a bit of notoriety lately too.
Yeah. To educate a man in mind and not in morals is to educate a menace to society. Theodore Roosevelt.
It's just
If you're following along in the program, you may notice it says youth may join the youth programming in our downstairs space. And I always like to just make a point that even though we don't often have children, if you have children in your life and you want to bring them, if you arrange ahead of time, we can have a children's program. Now it's time for Marcia to come forward with the fellowship minister moment. Reverend Marcia Mitzner.
Good morning, everyone. Great to see you. Good morning. That's wonderful. It's great to be here. I'm so aware, I think each day that I'm alive, how important this community is to me. And that was brought forward yesterday when there was a memorial service here for Kid Wimbish. And there were so many people that were here from Kitty's life, and many of us from First E that were here and had memories about Kitty and the part of the community that she was a big part of for many years. And it just really has made me think about it more and more. I mean, you've heard me say how much I love this community, but I think as I get older, it happens to the same. But I really am so aware of how important community is. And I think that's especially so when there are difficult times that are going on. So I want to say how much I appreciate every one of you that are here. I hope that you will, if there's somebody here that you've noticed but you haven't really had taken the opportunity to speak to and get to know, I hope you'll do that because I want this to be a place where everyone, feels like they are a part, because each of us are. Each of us has an important part. You bring yourself to this community, and I want you to share that with each other. I lost a good friend yesterday morning, very unexpectedly, and I think that might be part of what's going on, is to be aware of the fragility of life and how important it is that we surround ourselves with people who love us, who give us comfort, that stimulate us, that are willing to challenge us about things. And that's what this community is. So I hope that you will think about what your part, how you feel about our community, and about what you would like to do, somebody that you would like to meet and get to know a little bit better. And that's it.
Yeah, we're going to transition into community announcements, and Marcia has one, and while she has the mic, might as well give it.
I still have the mic here. We are a lay-led congregation. And as a part of that, we have a board of directors. And that board of directors makes decisions about the basic way that we are able to operate in the world. And this coming April will be a changeover. April and May is a changeover. Some of the members will move off and some will stay on. But it's an opportunity for anyone who would like to serve, not only on the board, but also on the nominating committee. There's a small group that will meet and look over the list of membership and come up with names of people that might be good candidates to be on the board. So anyone who is interested in participating in the nominating committee, it's a very important role. It's not something that's going to take up a lot of time. We'll meet. I'll call a meeting, but we have to have the names in place for April. So anyone who's interested, you can talk to me or Ms. King, or text, call, whatever. Okay, thank you.
Marcia, how many people are going off the board this year? How many people are we looking for?
3 or 4.
3 or 4.
In typical existential fashion, it's clear. Well, today is a very important day. Oh, no. If you haven't filled out your pledge form, which I believe is good for 3 years these days, is that true? There are some forms in the back, and Bill asks that you fill them out and turn them in today. I know that I'm one of those people who need to do that today. So thank you for that reminder. Next Sunday, February 16th, all are welcome after the greet and eat to go to a rally via MARTA to support immigrants and protest administration activities. And the third Sunday eat and greet is next Sunday after the celebration of life. Treats are welcome and all humans are welcome. I suppose a dog too. And Craig has another announcement.
Yeah, next Friday, the Valentine's Day dance right here as a benefit for the Lake Claire Community Land Trust. And Expand Band, which Bill Fleming and I have been keeping together for 42 years. It's a great dance band, I mean, right here. In fact, we're going to set up on the floor, not up here. We like to play on the floor when it's a dance. So. And it's from 7 to 11. And there's this poster around, a bigger version of this little thing I'm holding here. So.
We like to take 5 minutes to sit. Oh, I'm sorry. Hi, Barbara.
Hi, sorry about that. I'm getting in late. Just as a public announcement, my whole walker is full of things that belong to Lynn. And this is the 1-year anniversary of losing Lynn. And I promised last week that I would set stuff up on the stage here for you guys to take something home of hers as a remembrance. I'll probably do that during the offertory and then finish the rest during the end. And I ask that you stick around and take something, whether it's even just a small stone or one of her bears or something like that. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. We take 5 minutes out of every week to come here and sit together in silence. Some people choose to pray, meditate, think about the outdoors and listen to the wildlife. But it's a very precious time, and we have candles on each side of the sanctuary to remember people. We just ask that you be respectful for others as you move around the room, and I'll ring the chime at the end of 5 minutes.
Today we're going to this, and again, this is one of the songs that the words are by David Arkin, who was Alan Arkin's father, Adam Arkin's grandfather. Google him, he's an awesome guy, he did all so many things. Anyway, this is a snappy waltz.
All the colors, yes, the colors we see in the springtime with all of the flowers. All the colors, when the sunlight shines out with the rich in the cloud and it showers. All the colors, and the rainbow of feelings, one heart is touched by the sun. All the colors are for the whole world around and for everyone under the sun. La 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 la. All the colors, yes, the colors of people parading on high with their banners. All the colors. Yes, the colors of linens and streamers and plumes and bandanas. All the colors, yes, the colors of people now taking their place in the sun. All the colors of dance for the whole world around and for everyone under the sun. La 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 la. All the colors, yes, the black and the white and the red and the brown and the yellow. All the colors of people who smile and shake and say hello. All the colors, yes, the colors of people parading and keeping all the colors of time for the whole world around and for everyone under the sun. La 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 la.
Okay, here we go.
De colores se dicen los cambios de la primavera. De colores son los pajaritos que vuelan afuera. De colores son los vives nos vi. Y por eso los grandes amores de muchos colores en mi vida. La 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 we have to have the animals. The animals.
Yeah. In Spanish again? Okay, here we go.
Y por eso los grandes amores de muchos colores en nuestro país. La 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 la.
This piece yesterday, and it's great, so look it up. Okay, so sometimes we just have to be funny and mock what's going on, and so that's what this is about, all this crazy business with Mr. Musk. I had to respond to it, and I don't know trying to put music to this. I might venture a melody, but I'm probably going to speak for it. And I call it all the Twitter, down the shitter. Yeah, the music I was coming up with was too gross. I think I just made it. Hitler Heil, crocodile, bears his Tesla teeth, steals the bus and throws us groaning underneath. Painful plan, boogeyman, flim-flams you and me. Unfair game in the name of efficiency. Government workers sent packing from their jobs. Lightning fast flabbergasts cave into his mob. Crypto coins, girded loins, oligarchies, ruse. That's my new word now, probably yours too, oligarchy. Look it up, it's outrageous. Anyway. Oligarchies ruse, speculate at cut rate on their whoop-de-doos. Bandits raid, taxes paid, techno geeks for hire. No concern, slash and burn, chances to retire. Can't get sick if that trick. Pilfers needed cash. Left to cry, damned to die, suffering succotash. I got a cartoon here. Dawn to dusk, scent of musk, wafts of putrid smell, dead cliche, birds of prey, I whose ne'er do well. As we cope, dare we hope, we could fry his ass, mutate fumes, doom and glooms into laughing gas. Okay, then I dipped into, Hamlet's famous speech. In the bigger scheme of things, though he's super rich, all his arrows and his slings are but fortune's glitch. Nobler arms against the sea of outrageous troubles, choose to swim, free to be, and to burst its bubbles.
Great views. Original. So besides oligarchy, have you heard Doge dorks? Yeah, that's going around too. I like it. Doge dorks. It's his herd of young men that are actually doing the dirty work, as I understand it. Young hackers that he's putting in our government institutions.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that'll be my Google homework.
Yeah. Well, before we get on to the main event, I have another quote from another dubious politician, past president, but I liked it. When there is a lack of honor in government, the morals of the whole people are poisoned. Herbert Hoover. All right. Today we have two long-term members who will be sharing wisdom with us today. Sanjay Lal is Senior Lecturer of Philosophy at Clayton State University. Sanjay's research focus is on non-Western philosophy and peace studies. He is the current president of Concerned Philosophers for Peace, and he, along with his wife, Bhawna, and their son Shrey, have been regulars at First D since 2011. Shrey Lal is a 9th grader at Dutchtown High School in Henry County. He enjoys writing, creating his own comic strip, playing chess, and participating in his school's math club. Shrey has been coming to First D for as long as he can remember and never misses the chance to attend a celebration of life. Please welcome Sanjay and Shrey.
Thank you, Cindy, for that wonderful and warm introduction. So much of what I was planning on talking about today has sort of indirectly been emphasized in this service. When Marcia was talking, for instance, about the importance of community and We really also regret not being able to make it for Kitty's service yesterday. There's actually another friend who had a service in the town of Columbus, Georgia, that was held yesterday. But we certainly remember Kitty fondly. And thank you, Craig, for your words. They remind me that all of us have a certain power that can't go away regardless of what leaders may be in charge. You may have noticed in the order of service there's a quote from none other than George Orwell that I think is worth mentioning. Orwell, in this quote, states, people that elect corrupt politicians, imposters, thieves, and traitors are not victims but accomplices. Okay? And I'm going to try to emphasize how it's so important for us, if nothing else, to at least say we haven't been accomplices, that we've been on the right side of things, the right side of history. So during these times especially, where we're so grateful, Shrey and I are, to be part of the First D community, there seems, of course, to be a never-ending avalanche of depressing political news for us. And it's been an immense source of comfort to know that there's this community of like-minded people who will continue to affirm the sacrosanct values that so many of our leaders right now seem determined to destroy. It's my hope that everyone who feels overwhelmed right now by current events can find this kind of supportive group that they can go to for help in dealing with and getting through these trying times. Okay, as many of you know, we were originally supposed to give this presentation in early January, actually before the inauguration. I think I speak for many of us when I say that over the last 20 days, things have been much worse than even the most pessimistic among us could have envisioned. My central theme today is that nothing should matter more to us than affirming what's morally right, come what may. After all that's happened since January 20th, I think emphasizing this point has only become all the more important. Like so many of us, given the results of the November election, I found these past 3 months to be rather trying. How can so many people in this country that I love and thought I knew be so accepting of Donald Trump that he's now occupying our highest office once again? All throughout the campaign season, I wondered, like many of you probably did, how the race could even be close given the differences between the two sides. Okay, the overall distinctions between the candidates actually made me inclined to think that the Harris campaign was headed for a kind of blowout victory. Okay, it turns out my bewilderment and optimism was not so warranted. In a way that I know so many of you can find relatable, for me, November's election results were actually rather traumatic. Whereas it was easy for me to think of the 2016 presidential election as a kind of black swan event, in 2024, such reassurance could not be had. This time, there can be no denying that a significant segment of our fellow citizens have no problem whatsoever with someone like Donald Trump occupying our highest office. What does that say about where we are and what the future holds for us? Okay, while grappling with such matters, it's been helpful for me to consider profound philosophical insights that some of history's greatest thinkers have told us. More specifically, I found it helpful to consider insights that relate to the idea that nothing is more important than doing what's morally correct, and as long as I can confidently say I'm acting in a way that best affirms what I believe morality requires, I really have done all I can for the world, and therefore should not worry about anything else. In other words, contrary to what people often say in sports, in life, there really are moral victories. Indeed, I'm inclined to think these victories are actually the most important ones. We should never forget that unlike how others vote or what they think of the various candidates who are on the ballot, we can actually control how seriously we take that which we regard to be our moral duties. Thus, it would be a mistake for any of us to base our own inner peace and well-being on election outcomes rather than on something we can actually control. In the words of that great existentialist philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre, will the social ideal as such ever become a reality? I cannot tell. I can only tell that whatever may be in my power to make it so, I shall do. Beyond that, I count upon nothing. Personally, I've tried to remember that while I may have been guilty of placing too much trust in the goodness and rationality of others, aiming to be on the good side of goodness and rationality is never a bad thing, and that it actually makes sense to think of it as the most important thing, regardless of what happens in the world around them. By remaining steadfast in their belief that the moral worth of what we do is indispensable, history's great social reformers were able to withstand unimaginable setbacks and suffering, sometimes over centuries, and continue doing work that ultimately so improved the world. We should consider this point in the context of certain historical facts, like the decades that passed between the beginning of the women's suffrage movement and the passage of the 19th Amendment. We can only imagine how the setbacks and disappointments our forebearers encountered made them feel. Indeed, many of these individuals did not even live to see their ultimate goals realized. We should all be grateful, though, that they never gave in to temptations to just give up. On his last night on earth, Dr. Martin Luther King proclaimed, "I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight we as a people will get to the promised land." By speaking these words, Dr. King gave eloquent expression to exactly the kind of mindset that should be emphasized after last year's election. King was aware that he had moral worth on his side, and that even though that was not enough to keep serious disappointments from befalling his movement, it nonetheless fueled an optimism that no events in the everyday world could diminish. Belief in the ultimate importance of moral worth is implicit in John Lewis's remark that ours is not the struggle of one judicial appointment or presidential term. Ours is the struggle of a lifetime, or maybe even many lifetimes, and each one of us in every generation must do our part. And if we believe in the change we seek, then it is easy to commit to doing all we can, because the responsibility is ours alone to build a better society and a more peaceful world. That nothing is more important than whether we're affirming moral worth is underscored by none other than Socrates in the widely taught Credo dialogue. After the masses had condemned him to die, Socrates' disciples, who were worried about how they would be seen by society if they abandoned their teacher, had presented him with an opportunity to escape. In putting forth his rationale for accepting the verdict handed down against him, Socrates asks, with actions just and unjust, shameful and beautiful, good and bad, should we follow the opinion of the many and fear it, or that of the one, if there is one who has knowledge of these things, and before whom we feel fear and shame more than before all the others? Socrates held that the worst harm anyone can experience is harm to the soul, and that acting without regard for the moral worth of our actions inevitably harms an individual's soul. The masses can never have the power to impact the moral worth of what we do. Thus, thinkers like Socrates would say that nothing the masses do can ever really harm us. In keeping with this understanding, Stoic philosophers held that the only way to harm someone with the right values is to make that person commit an injustice. In describing the central message of Stoic philosophy, Todd May writes, "For Stoicism, one must never have expectations of what the world will offer. The world often disappoints. If you hang your expectations and hope on the world, you're setting yourself up for that disappointment. Moreover, you're turning control of your life over to the world. It is better to retain the control yourself. If you can't control what goes on in the world, then focus your energies on what you can control. How you live in that world, and more specifically, how you react to the world's vicissitudes." This kind of prioritization of moral worth was more recently echoed by former Republican strategist and never Trumper Stuart Stevens, On the morning after the election, Stevens responded to some online taunting by stating, I see failure in politics as not standing for the values. I'd rather lose an election with a candidate I respect than win with a horrible human being without character. Stevens' words should remind us that we're implored by morality to consider how willing we are to live with things when the horrible human being we may win politically with inevitably does horrible things, which there's been no shortage of these past 3 years. Okay, if we honestly think that political victory makes it worth accepting all morally abhorrent acts that we're currently witnessing, then we really should ask ourselves what kind of people have we allowed ourselves to become. It certainly would not seem that we would be people who would be worthy of living in the right kind of society. Isn't it, though, the whole point of engaging in politics to try to bring about that kind of society? After all, it is only after we as individuals have better developed our own moral characters we really bring about a better world. Developing our moral characters is something we can do regardless of who the political leaders are that we live under. It therefore makes sense to think that, above all else, we should focus on whether we're on the right side of morality, and that beyond that, there really is no point in worrying about things that are ultimately out of our control. Stevens' comments are reminiscent of Gandhi's declaration that in the end I expect it is the moral work that will count. All else is dross. The tributes offered to Jimmy Carter last month underscore this declaration. After all, regardless of the various assessments of his presidency, is what Carter did to be a moral example that has really stood out in these tributes. It is doubtful that any political accomplishments could give a person the same kind of acclaim. Ultimately, Gandhi's words should lead us to think about what exactly have we done. And being part of the winning side means we're accepting or even indifferent to our country's chief executive acting in ways that no good parent would tolerate from a 6-year-old. It is clear that, however we understand morality, it cannot be the case that supporting the political endeavors of this individual aligns with affirming moral worth. For me, I try to always remember that it would not be the worst thing if, after all my efforts, at the end of the day, the best I can do is say that my conscience is not what bothers me in life, and that I can honestly tell Shrey that I was among those who really tried to ensure he inherits the right kind of world. Indeed, I cannot see how any political victory by itself could bring about any better kind of outcome. Those who prioritize moral work have understood that any victory which relies on immoral means is ultimately hollow and more trouble than it's worth. As I said before in my ethics classes, though there are always many factors that motivate what we do, when our overriding motivation is the wish to affirm what's right, instead of say what's most pleasing or advantageous, we're giving our action the highest kind of endorsement that we're capable of giving. Thus, for example, when I start feeling frustrated by the fact that these days apparently only one side is expected to show graciousness and magnanimity toward opponents, I try to remember that there's no greater guide for action than morality. This is the case even though viscerally it may be quite pleasing for the political side I identify with to return the bitterness and hostility that we saw from the losing campaign 4 years ago. When morality is my guide, I can rest on what is clearly the most solid foundation that I see available to me. I figure that either the morally sound side will ultimately triumph in the long run, or if that won't happen, winning must not really be all that important. The great Enlightenment philosopher Immanuel Kant declared, "Do justice, though the world perish." To me, it seems that if justice will not ultimately prevail, then maybe the world may as well perish. Since I would rather not accept such a conclusion, I prefer to think that justice will prevail. And for that, nothing is more important than my own moral standing. This mindset, of course, will not save me from disappointments, but it still seems to be the best option that we're all presented with. For many of us, it seems we must choose between either affirming moral value or gaining political victory. The idea that we can't pursue both is what underlies this view. It seems to me that a better way to think about our situation is that it's only through affirming moral work that political victory can have genuine work. If we can honestly say that we're driven by the willingness to affirm moral value above all else, and this is what our actions show, then it really seems there's no reason to be down about that, which is beyond our control. I want to be clear, the kind of mindset I'm calling for, though, is not one that says we should simply be meek and passive about the wrongs taking place around us. That attitude couldn't be further from what I'm calling for. Above all, I'm saying that we should never lose grip of the right perspective as we keep fighting for a better world. And keeping this perspective is downright vital for us to keep going. In existentialism, authenticity is given the highest priority. Someone who's willing to ignore that which surely violates her sense of what's morally right for perceived political gains is undeniably sacrificing authenticity. For the existentialist too, then it makes sense to think this individual has indeed experienced the worst kind of harm that we can experience. Alternatively, an individual who insists on staying authentic, no matter the cost, could be said to have achieved the greatest victory in freedom that we can have in this life. As members of First E, let us not allow the current time period we're in to pass without taking advantage of this opportunity to reaffirm our deepest values. Election seasons, like political characters who prevail in them, come and go, always. Our goal should be ensuring our own inner well-being in a way that no transitory political developments can ever affect. Okay, and with that, I want to turn things over to Shrey because he has some words regarding the future that he sees for the world in front of him, that he'll be heading into, and he has some reasons for hope that he wants to share with you. So.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Get the microphone close to your mouth.
Not too close.
As my father said, in the aftermath of such an unexpected election loss, it's easy to feel concerned for the future and to feel angry. And with such a divisive man who just took office, there are millions of Americans just like us. They're struggling to grasp this new reality. But we have to remember that it's not over. Just like at any other point in history, there's always room for change. While it may not seem like it at first glance, there's a lot to be optimistic about in the world right now concerning the future. As we just entered 2025, we should remind ourselves that going into the new year means not only changing our calendars, but also changing our attitudes about the future. One thing that can bring hope for the future is that for some people, the consequences of their own actions can change the way they think. As President Trump just began his second term, at least some Americans may change their minds about him, as they begin to see through the difference between expectations and reality. Right now, mankind is also making progress towards technology, which shows our potential. Technological advancements are being made at groundbreaking speeds. To put things into perspective, we have sent men to the moon, created personal computers, personal music players, cell phones, social media, and artificial intelligence, all within the past 55 years.
Yes.
Even TVs weren't around 100 years ago, and now we're already working on generative AI tools in healthcare. Technology isn't always a good thing, but it shows that humanity is progressing in ways that it hasn't before, and that there's always potential. one good aspect that can come from all this is that we can stay more connected. As in today's world, communication is no longer limited by physical borders. Another factor which many people believe is a concern, and it has only worsened in recent times, is the deterioration of the environment, primarily due to global warming. It is correct that if global warming is not reversed, Earth can become uninhabitable for human beings. But right now, we're actually in a very good position when it comes to protecting the planet. Many countries in the world right now are trying to raise awareness about and are adopting renewable energy sources, including solar panels, wind turbines, and geothermal energy. More than 40 countries in the world have promised to completely do away with coal energy in the near future. And right now, the leading countries in renewable energy include Denmark, Sweden, Germany, Norway, Finland, Austria, and Brazil, as well as some parts of the USA and China. We're also blessed to live in a time period that is one of the safest in recorded history. Statistically, primary causes of violence in the world, such as war or terrorism, are actually at an all-time low. Currently, Iceland, Ireland, Austria, New Zealand, and Singapore are the top 5 most peaceful countries in the world as of 2024. There is conflict happening in the world right now, primarily with the wars going on in Ukraine and Gaza. And when it comes to these wars, we should focus on what we can control and remind ourselves that a lot of this stuff happens far away. Our safety has also been compromised here at home with the school shootings and mass violence that we hear about every day. But when it comes to limiting gun use and protecting ourselves from weapons, young people in the future, young people who grew up hearing about these tragedies, make an inspiration to go on to lead the charge against gun violence. So we should be hopeful and just focus on what we can control. At the end of the day, while it may not seem like it, if you're turning your TV or go on social media, the world is actually doing really well when it comes to things such as politics, global warming, and technology and safety. It is good to try to think of positive aspects of anything concerning that we hear, and try to come up with reasons for hope, because hope is the only thing that leads to change.
Those were both wonderful speeches. Thank you. Yeah, this past month has been a whole lot of exercise in letting go of things you can't control, both personally and in a larger extent. But we have each other, and I, for one, am glad to be here today. Our closing congregational song is on page 56 in the pink book, We Hold the Future.
Something like this. We hold the future in our hands. 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 The future in our hands. We've got the Constitution in our hands. We've got the Constitution in our hands. We've got the Constitution in our hands. The Constitution in our hands. We've got the Declaration 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 in our hands. We must have peace and freedom
In our land we must have peace and freedom. In our land we must have peace and freedom. In our land, peace and freedom in our land. Yes, we hold the future in our hands. We hold the future in our hands. We hold the future in our hands. Hold the future in our hands.
Welcome.
As if what you do makes a difference. It does. William James. And with that, go forth and enjoy the rest of your day. Please join us for that after talk if you can. I would like to. And come back next week.